Do you ever feel like you can't move forward because you're afraid of making the wrong choice? What if you stopped thinking of your next step as a permanent decision and started thinking of it as an experiment? If you're tired of feeling stuck in life and doubting yourself and want simple steps to stop overthinking, gain clarity, and start living your dream, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Sarah Tyke, a midlife mom, chronic overthinker, and your dream activator. I learned the secret of how to overcome self doubt and stop overthinking. Take small, practical steps to create the life you dream of. If you're ready to see the possibilities, transform your mindset, and take the first step forward, grab a pen and a journal and meet me in the Dream Lab. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Reinventing Life After 40. I'm your host, Sarah Tyke. I just want to give a quick reminder that we have a Facebook group that you can join. It's called Goal Setting for Overthinkers, and a weekly newsletter. And the newsletter will have just some weekly encouragement, some goal setting tips. If there's ever anything that you guys want that would help you, like planners, trackers, checklists, tell me what you want that would be useful for you, and I'll see if I can, kind of create something, and that would be included in a newsletter as well. If there's ever any, special offers or discounts or anything like that, if you're on the newsletter, you will get early access to any of that. So you can go to Facebook groups and search for Goal Setting for Overthinkers. It's just a small group of, us overthinkers, just kind of getting together, helping each other, supporting each other, just whatever you guys need in that group. You can ask questions in there. You can, obviously just talk to each other. There'll just be some, again, just kind of like some encouragement, some goal setting tips here and there. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can go to sarahtyke.com/newsletter. Okay, today we're going to start talking about reframing our thoughts when it comes to making these life decisions, and how a lot of times we get stuck because we don't want to move forward, because we feel like any decision we make is going to be permanent, set in stone, irreversible, can never go back, can never change. It's just one and done. And that's usually not the case, unless you're doing something huge and big and drastic, like just quitting your job and opening a business with no planning. And that's never what I'm recommending. I don't think that's necessary. So what you can do is you take small steps. And when you start looking at these small steps as more like experiments instead of life-altering decisions, then it becomes easier to try them out and to kind of start taking action and to do stuff. So this is something that I've been doing a lot, because I've never really been in a position where I can just quit my job or pack up and move, just drop everything and completely change my life. And there's just been a lot of things I've wanted to try because I'm not really sure where I wanted to go with things. Like, what was I really interested in? I have a lot of hobbies, I have a lot of interests, but would any of those lead to a career path or something that I wanted to really fully invest in? I think I've mentioned it on previous episodes, but I really wanted to own a coffee shop where I would bake goods to sell, like cookies, muffins. I had like little mini bread loaves, and it seemed like a good idea. So I tried it out. There was a bake sale going on at work, so I just kind of pretended like, what if that was my business? What if I had to bake something for my business? And I don't know how many you would need, but for this bake sale, I did like 3 dozen of these little mini bread loaves. And I did all the things, I had ingredient labels and I had them individually wrapped with, the label on it. It was really cute. And I hated it. I got through it and everybody loved them, and it was just torture though for me. The one time, doing it one time, I was like, okay, that's fine. But I was definitely done with it. I'm not sure if I ever baked anything after that. It was just so much work and so tedious. And I was like, I could not do this every day. So there's no way that I could be in a bakery business. Now, owning the coffee shop and just selling pre-baked goods or, the frozen cookies that you just throw in the oven, okay, that's another option. But the idea of me baking stuff from scratch every day, not going to happen. So I also thought that it'd be really cool to be a writer. I have I think a lot of neat ideas for stories. The problem is I can never really finish a story. So, I actually did end up writing a book. I published it. It was self-published. It's just an ebook. So sure, it's not great, but it is done. I finished it. I published it, and I realized that I am not a writer. I could not do that again. I don't want to do it again. Um, it was fun to do one time. It was something that I really wanted to do. It was a topic that I loved that just for me. Like I think four people bought it. I don't even know if all four of them read it. But that was never the point. The point was to just do the thing, to write the book, to get it out there and to, express what was in me. And it was so much fun and I loved it. And like I said, probably nobody will ever see it except for those four people. But I don't care about that. But I also learned that I'm just not a writer. I mean, I like the idea of it. I like starting stories. I like writing stuff down. I love journaling. I love typing on the keyboard. But as far as trying to make that a living, it sounds cool. And I always thought that it'd be really cool to be a writer. But I can't. It's just not me. So, on to the next experiment. I tried podcasting and I loved it. Now, within that path, so here I tried baking, definitely not right. Writer, definitely not right. Podcasting, yes, that's the right path. Love it. But I've also tried three different podcasts. I did The Interested Reader, which was kind of like alternative science, metaphysical type of stuff, which I love. I still love all of that. But it just felt like, as far as teaching it and having a podcast about it, it just felt like it wasn't quite aligned. So I was going to do the Cosmic Classroom. I rebranded it. I had, a great idea for what I was going to do. But even in the process of changing and setting up that podcast, it still felt like it wasn't right. It was going to be like less alternative science, like The Interested Reader, and it was going to be shorter episodes, shorter lessons, very like to the point, like basically like I was just teaching. Like it was just going to be like 20-minute lessons. Here you go, every day, just astronomy. And it just, in the process of setting it all up, it just didn't feel right. I was like, I mean, I love astronomy and I still want to teach it. But for some reason, it just didn't feel right. So then, after a lot of soul searching and just planning and prayer, and I actually took a podcasting course that kind of helps with this clarifying what you're going to do. So, going through all of this, I've settled on this direction with Reinventing Life After 40, and I love it. And this feels like me. So it's taken some time. I've had to do different things, but the thing is that I did them all. Like I started the podcast. I put things out there. They're probably not great episodes, my first ones, but that didn't matter. I did it. Um, and I just tried different directions. The first direction, not bad. Second direction, okay, not quite right either. Third direction, finally, yes, I've hit on it. And then there's just been a lot of things that I'm still experimenting with. If you can't tell with this podcast, we've got the Facebook group. I don't really like social media, but I do like having the small group of people together, like in our private Facebook group, where we can just kind of get together and talk, just like I said, in a smaller group setting, kind of like-minded, overthinking individuals. So I do like that aspect of it, but I'm still kind of experimenting, getting it right, posting on a regular basis and having some events go on in there, just trying to get things flowing and up and running. It's a process and it's an experiment. I'm trying different things, seeing what works and what doesn't. I've had a couple websites in the past. Again, it's kind of an experiment where I did have to put forth some money to buy a domain, which you can do it for free. Um, but I wanted to not have the host's name in the URL. But so I've tried building a couple websites and found out that I love making websites. I love doing digital media, digital art, websites. I'm not sure if I'm any good at it. I don't know. But it's something that I like doing. I love tinkering with the websites and editing and all that stuff. I've tried having a couple different freelance side jobs. So one of them, which I really was excited about, was making animated videos of like grade school math. They were only like 3-minute videos. And I don't have any experience in like making videos, animation, digital art. I mean, I do it myself, but I've never been taught. I've never taken like a design course or video editing course or animating anything. I'd never had any formal training or education in this, but I applied for the job anyway, and I got it. And it was so much fun to make these videos. The problem is that it took me forever to make a 3-minute video. I think the job paid $40 an hour because they expected, well, it wasn't per hour. They paid $40 per video, and they expected that you would be able to make one in 1 hour. And I would spend like 3 hours, maybe more, doing one video. So it was amounting to like $10 an hour, which as a side job, I probably would have continued just for the experience, just because it was fun to do. But with all the other things going on, I mean, I had a, young child at home, trying to still do the podcast at the time, trying to do all these different things. It just wasn't worth my time. But again, it was this kind of experiment I did where let me just try out for the job. I'm just going to apply to it. I don't have professional experience with any of it, but I'm just going to try it, see what happens. It worked out pretty well. I did get the job. But again, I found out through actually doing it that I don't like it as a job. I couldn't do that forever. Unless it was my only thing. I didn't have anything else going on. I could dedicate hours and hours and hours a day to it, but I just couldn't right now. I've had a job, actually, I'm still as a side gig doing AI training where you just basically look at prompts between two different AI chatbots or whatever, and you see which one is best, which one was most accurate, and why, and all this. And it's actually a lot of fun. And again, it's one of those things where I didn't have any experience doing this. I applied for the job, I got it, they give you training, and it's a lot of fun, and I would do that if I could full time. But the work is very sporadic, and you have to be very focused when you're working on it with no distractions. And when you have a toddler at home, you don't get much time with no distractions. So I still do a little bit of that here and there if I can, but yeah, they'll probably kick me out at some point. I also, a long time ago, I wrote for a blogging or content creation company because, again, kind of along that line of being a writer, I thought it'd be kind of cool to be a blogger. And so I don't have any experience with professional experience, writing, copy, editing, anything like that, but I applied for the job anyway, and I got it. And it was a lot of fun working for this company, and I wish I could have stayed with them. Again, it was one of these things where I just couldn't do enough of the work fast enough to make it pay off. And most of that was, you weren't supposed to take a lot of time working on these projects. There were some that the client was not looking for like a detailed 50-page dissertation. They wanted something short, general, basic information, somewhere where they could put their links that sounded natural. That was it. You were supposed to take about 15 minutes to do it, and I would take like an hour. Just because of my overthinking, I would get into it. I would start researching things and making sure that it was like the information, there was enough of it, that it was in depth enough. And the managers were like, you don't have to put that much effort. You shouldn't be. These projects are not meant to take that long. They're not paying for that level of research. But I couldn't help it. So again, that was a job where it just wasn't paying off because I just could not do enough of the work. But it was a fun job and it was a great company to work for. I really liked them. My point in all these things is that these were all experiments that I did. And I never quit my job through any of it, but I got to try a lot of things. I used a bake sale as a way to test whether or not I would like baking. I had an Etsy shop for a little while too, where I was selling some of the crocheted items that I like, and I found out I could not do that. I could not sell handmade items for a living because I don't like making handmade items that much. I like doing it here and there, not enough where I could make a living off of it. But I tried it. I opened the Etsy shop, I listed some stuff, I sold some stuff, and it was a lot of fun selling stuff. But it just, to have to keep making the same thing over and over and over again, I couldn't do it. But I tried it. And so all of these things that I tried writing a book, I've tried podcasting, I've tried, making videos, I've tried being a blogger. These are all data points. They were all experiments, and I never quit my good full-time, good paying job. But I was trying new things to see which one worked. They were all just little experiments. And a lot of times just applying to new jobs was fun and challenging because now you've kind of given yourself a deadline. You've taken action, you've filled out an application, someone's going to get back to you about it. Maybe now you'll have to go through with an interview. Maybe now you'll actually get the job and you'll have to do something. And it's exciting and it's a little scary, but it's just an experiment. You don't even have to accept the job. If you want to just go through filling out an application form, maybe you do the interview, even if they offer to you, you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. You don't have to take it. But a lot of times just applying for the job kind of tells you something about that direction. Like if you're really excited, like, oh, I really hope I get the job. Like I can't wait to do the interview. I'm really kind of like secretly hoping that I get it. That kind of tells you that maybe you do want to do that direction. If you're dreading the interview, you're like, oh, I kind of hope they don't call me back. I kind of hope I don't get it. Maybe that's kind of an indication that you don't really want to go that direction. But again, I think it's just fun to apply for a job. And I mean, don't do it, I would say, just on a whim because somebody does have to actually go through and read these applications and set up interviews if they like it. And you don't want to waste people's time. But if you are genuinely interested in something, I mean, like I said, there were a couple things I really wanted to do the blogging and the videos and the AI training. So I genuinely wanted to do those. So I just applied. And again, I didn't have the experience, but I just did it anyway. Just apply anyway. Because I met their basic requirements, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be any good at this. But, you submit a piece of work and they said it was good enough. So that was fun. But again, my point is that these are all little experiments that I've done. Nothing big, nothing life-changing, didn't quit my job, but I got to try out new things and found out what worked and what didn't. So as I was preparing for this episode, I found there's a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson that I really like. And he says, do not be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. And I think that's perfect because everything you do in life is an experiment and you're gathering data. So, point one, we often treat every decision like it's irreversible because our brains want certainty and we try to avoid regret. So we get kind of caught up like, well, if I do this, that's it, that's permanent, that's where I'm going. And you don't want to make the wrong choice. So then you end up not doing it because like, well, what if it's wrong and I can't go back? It's like, well, take small enough steps and you can go back. So instead of asking, or just try asking yourself, what if this wasn't a forever decision? What if I could just try it on like I would try on a new dress or new shoes? You're just going to take a small enough step to see if you actually do like the process. Like if you are thinking about, hey, I want to learn how to paint. Well, maybe instead of going out and buying, hundreds of dollars worth of paint supplies, see if there's a class that you can take somewhere just to see if you like painting, if you like the media, or go and buy like a small set of something. Allow yourself to spend, whatever, 50, $100 or something on supplies, maybe not even that much. get a canvas, some paint, some brushes. Just see if you even like doing it enough to actually spend the money to get the good paints and the good brushes. Like maybe don't go all the way to the extreme just to test it out to see if you actually like painting. Or if you do want to like have an Etsy shop or you do want to sell your handmade items, try opening an Etsy shop. You can do it for free. Listings cost, some amount. I don't remember how much it is. But you can just try it out. Just see if you like actually having to go through the process of selling your items, or go to a craft show if you can, or farmers markets sometimes have crafted items, not just food. So find areas where you can just do small scale experiments of what you really want to do, like as the big lifetime change. Just try to scale it back to something small that's more doable, that's just like trying it on just to see if it fits. Point two, tiny experiments create clarity. So you'll learn more from doing something than from just thinking about it. Because when you're thinking about something, you're basically living in this imaginary world. The outcome, the struggle, the success, it's all hypothetical. You don't really know what's going to happen. You're just thinking about it. So you need to do something to find out what really happens. And a lot of times, the outcome might not even be as bad as you think, or it might not even be as good as you think. So some of these examples are like little experiments that you could try. You could volunteer in a field that you're curious about. You could take a class. You'll find out if there are any classes, I don't know, at libraries or rec centers, somewhere in your area. See if you can just take one class that's in the field that you're curious about doing. You could start a simple blog if you like teaching or writing. You can have websites. There are websites you can set them up for free, and you can just start writing, getting in the habit of publishing something, once a week or once a day, whatever your frequency is. See if you like doing that. See if you like committing to writing something new and interesting to put on a blog, on a website. You could sell a handmade item, whatever it is you're selling. If you're selling your paintings, your crocheting, your sewing, your carvings, furniture, whatever it is you're making, try selling it. You could either yard sale, you could try an Etsy shop. Maybe if you know friends that are doing yard sales or garage sales, maybe you kind of work together and you can put some of your items there and see if people are interested. See what it's like to actually have to sell them, to price it, to sell it, to get people interested in your work. If you're interested in podcasting, try recording one episode. You can start with free accounts on various podcasting platforms. You can try recording something, uploading it to see if you like doing it. You could schedule an informational interview. This is something that's fairly new to me. I was researching this a little bit, where you basically find someone at a company or in a field that you are interested in, and you just schedule an informational interview. You contact them and you say that you were just interested in their field and you just want information. Not asking for a job, not asking for an internship, not asking for anything, any guarantee, just information. You're just curious about what they do, how they do it, what does it take, all of the different things. Have your questions set up. I've never done this before, at least not formally. When I was a kid, I used to write to people about marine biology. So I was like 10 years old, super interested in whales and dolphins. That's what I was sure I was going to be a marine biologist, specifically a cetologist, studying just cetaceans, whales and dolphins. So we were out driving one day, and we lived in Georgia at the time, and we were just out driving, and there was a sign for like a marine research center. And we didn't go because we just didn't have time to figure out where this place was, but there was a sign for it. I was like, oh, so in Savannah, Georgia, there's a marine research center. And at the time, so I'm 10 years old, this is 1990. We don't have the internet. All I did was I wrote a letter to somebody. I Dear Sir or Madam, my name is Sarah. I am interested in whales and dolphins. Can you give me information basically about whales and dolphins? And I didn't know the address of this place. All I knew was that it was in Savannah, Georgia. So I addressed the envelope to like Marine Mammal Science Center, whatever it was called, Savannah, Georgia. And I had my mom look up the zip code when she went to work one day because I don't know, she was a secretary somewhere, and I guess she had access to zip codes. I don't know how she did it because we don't have the internet at this place, and we didn't live in Savannah. We were farther south. So anyway, so that's all. I just addressed this envelope, Marine Mammal Center, Savannah, Georgia. Sent it off, and I actually got a response. And I corresponded with the guy who responded to me for several years after that. I mean, I think it was probably a good 5 or 6 years. I would just write back and forth to him, like, hey, I have a question about this. And he would always answer me back, and he'd send me brochures and informational packets about whatever whale or dolphin or program I was interested in. And it was really cool. And was just on a whim. I'm like, let me just write to this guy. Like, what's the worst that could happen? He doesn't answer. Nobody answers. Okay, no big deal. But then also, make sure you're asking yourself, if you're going to ask yourself what's the worst that could happen, that's fine. But also ask yourself, what's the best that could happen? Because what if the best thing that could happen is that your life changes and you are happy, you find joy, you find your calling? Can you afford not to take that chance? So anyway, so that was something that I used to do. I would just write to people. I wrote to someone at there was a marine land in Florida. I think this is the one in, I don't remember if it was in St. Augustine. I feel like I wrote to somebody in Miami. I don't know. But again, it was one of those things where I just had the name of a place, and I just, again, dear sir, madam, I want information about dolphins. I love dolphins. And would just address it to Marineland, St. Augustine, Florida, or wherever it was, Miami, Florida. And I would get responses. Now, maybe it's because I was a kid and people are like, hey, let's get this kid interested in science and animals. But I think even as an adult, you could try it. And nowadays, you're probably not writing letters, but maybe you're sending an email. I'm not entirely sure how you reach out to organizations to find out who you could contact about an informational interview, but that would be something that you could research. That could be your next one step. If you are really interested in something, start looking into who would I contact. And I recently did this with a planetarium here in Iowa. I can't volunteer there because I live too far away and I can't make that drive on the days when they need volunteers. I think they primarily need volunteers um, during the weekends, and I work on weekends. Either way, it's a long drive. I wouldn't be able to do it. So I thought what I would really like to do is make like digital products for them. So I looked at their website and I saw that they didn't really have a lot of, I don't know, like resources that you could just use online. And I thought it'd be kind of cool if they had like informational sheets about astronomy, maybe some home experiments that you could do. Because when you go to the planetarium, it's part of a science center. So they have different areas where you can do, like you can make paper airplanes and try to figure out what's the best design to get it to go the farthest. So just kind of, and it's targeted, for younger children. So like, well, what maybe if they had something online that you could do at home, like some home experiments or some cool things that you could do to find stars at night in your own backyard. I thought that'd be kind of neat to have basically an online resource section. And I would love to be able to make those resources for the planetarium. So I contacted their volunteer coordinator and I told her I can't volunteer in person, but I was wondering if you would be interested in basically a remote volunteer and someone who could maybe do some of these digital products from home remotely to put on the website. And I had no idea what would happen with that. It was kind of I thought a cool idea, and I just found somebody who might be able to help me, and I contacted her. And she actually did write back, and she was interested in it, and she said, "Yeah, what do you have in mind? Let's talk about it." Now I did contact her back, and I sent her a portfolio of some of my designs, and never heard back from her. And it took a while for her to get back to me the first time because it was summer and they have a lot of programs going on and they're very busy and they don't have a huge staff. Um, but she did eventually get back to me, and like I said, she was interested. And I took the next step and I followed up and just never heard back from it. So it never really went anywhere. But again, it's one of those things where it was really fun. Like I had this idea. I just reached out to someone and said, "Hey, would you be interested in working with me? Could we make this happen?" And I mean, I could have probably been more pushy and kept following up and kept and kept and kept. But honestly, I felt like, okay, I've reached out, I followed up again, still no interest. I kind of forgot about it. Yeah, with all the other things going on. So, but again, it was an experiment. I thought it'd be cool. I reached out to somebody with an idea I had. I actually heard back from them. And again, so the answer was no, not going to happen. Okay, no big deal. I didn't really lose anything in the process, but it's still a cool idea. And now that was only one place that I reached out to. I never tried going to anywhere else. Now, if this was a remote volunteer opportunity, because again, this was all volunteer. This wasn't going to be paid. I, stress that like I don't expect to get paid for anything. I just want to be involved with the planetarium. There are other planetariums in the state and around the country. If it's remote, you don't necessarily need to be there physically. So it might be worth my while to reach out to other planetariums to try, other places. Because a lot of times you're not going to get, one response or like the success from trying one time. You may have to conduct several experiments before you have success. But it was really fun. It was a fun process. And Albert Einstein said that you never fail until you stop trying. So, point 3. Experiments reduce fear because they lower the stakes. Because you get to try before you buy. You do something small, you see if you like it. If you do like it, you keep going that direction. You can scale up a little. If you don't like it, now you've learned something from your experiment, you can try something else. It's kind of like having a proof of concept. Before you quit your job to start the side business full time and give up all of your income, try starting a small scale version of that side business that you want as like a proof of concept to show that you can do it, that you do like it, that you are willing to keep doing it. Because a lot of times things as an idea sound really great. Like, yeah, I could do that. I could be a baker. Yeah, no problem. But then when you have to be baking 3, 4, 5, 6 dozen things every single day, that's a different story when you actually start doing it. So you do these small experiments. You can just kind of try it out, see if you like it, do this proof of concept. And you're not deciding your future. You're just collecting information. You're doing one small experiment for a day, a week, maybe a month. Give yourself some time to decide if you really like it. If you don't, again, it was a small enough step that you can go back and try something else. And now you have that data point to say, I know I don't like doing that. Let me try something else. So instead of asking yourself, what should I do with the rest of my life? Instead, try saying, what's one thing I'd like to explore now? And Jim Rohn was a motivational speaker. I am not familiar with much of his work. I hear other people talk about him. He mentored Tony Robbins. So Jim Rohn died in 2009, and a quote from him that I really like is, "Life is worthwhile if you try. It doesn't mean you can do everything, but there are a lot of things you can do if you just try." Okay, your homework for this week is to complete this sentence. One thing I've been curious about is blank. What is one thing that you have been curious about? Now, answer this question. What's the smallest experiment I could try within the next 2 weeks? Okay, and write this down. It's important, I think, with these homework assignments that you write them down, because having things in writing kind of solidifies it. And it's a reminder. If you put it somewhere where you can see it every day, then you can remind yourself, oh yeah, I was going to do this. I do have this deadline coming up. So write this down, put this 2-week deadline on your calendar. So what's the smallest experiment that I could try within the next 2 weeks to explore this area that you're curious about? And having this deadline is important because it keeps you on track. It keeps you, you need to do action. You need to do something. You need to try something. And without a deadline, it just becomes this amorphous thing like, yeah, someday I'll get to it. And we all have that problem. That's why we're all listening, I hope, to this podcast, because we have this, I'll get to it someday sort of mindset. And we're trying to break free of that because that someday often doesn't come. So put that deadline on your calendar, set a reminder on your phone, or schedule an email to yourself that will be sent on that day to remind yourself today's the deadline. Did you do it? And you can get family and friends involved if you have to get them to help you with accountability. So they'll check up on you and say, hey, how are you progressing with that 2-week goal? So that's your homework for this week. And while you're working on this, you can consider this question. What decision have I been treating like a lifetime commitment when it could simply be an experiment? Okay, to recap. 1, you don't need to know the entire path before you begin. 2, small experiments create clarity. 3, every experiment teaches you something, even if it doesn't go as planned. They're all data points. They're all going to help you decide what is the right path for you to continue on. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I think it ran a little bit long. I apologize for that. I'm trying to keep these around 30 minutes so it doesn't get too boring for you. Let me know in the comments if you like longer episodes, shorter episodes, if this is about right, if you don't really care. I'd love to hear any feedback that you guys have. It helps me make this better for you because I'm really hoping that this is helping you guys because I love doing it. I hope you're getting something from it. If you are enjoying the podcast, please like it, share it, follow, subscribe. I think by now we're all probably familiar with all the things that we do on platforms for things. I don't know. This seems early for me. I'm sorry. I'm just babbling now. Please follow the podcast, share it with a friend. If someone might find this episode helpful because they are also stuck trying to make the perfect decision and they just need a little bit of a push to just reframe things as an experiment, share this episode with them. Leave comments, ratings, reviews, they all help. Not only with algorithms, but also they help me know if I'm helping you guys and what I can do to make things better to help you more. Please join the Facebook group, the newsletter. You can send me comments in the Facebook group. If you need help with anything, let me know in there. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye. Hi, friend. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may want to get inspired to start living their dream? Also, please leave a review wherever you're listening. It lights me up to know that this podcast is helping you. Take a step forward today. It doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be done. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Bye.